Well, hello and welcome back to another Trader's Tip here with the Trade for a Living series at TradeSmart University. We're getting to Trader's Tip number 8, and we call this the 5 steps of trade confirmation. You know, people ask me all the time, they say, how do you know that a trade is something you can really believe in? And the truth is, analysis is of course going to be where you figure it out, but you got to have some confirmation. You got to have some extra steps here. You know, our analysis tools work. There's a lot of tools that tell us, they give us a good suggestion of which direction the stock will move. But the challenge every time is to have the confidence to actually pull the trigger and to actually place the trade and believe in it. So how do you know? How do you know that these signals that you're getting are a high probability signal? And here's the answer. We need confirmation. So here at TradeSmart, we teach a 5 steps of confirmation process, and you can really apply this across the board to any of your style of trading. If you want to use it for day trading, you want to use it for swing trading, long-term trading, whichever way you wish to apply it, it's going to apply across the board here. And here's what the 5 steps are. Number 1, define your support and resistance. Number 2, identify the trend. Identify any chart patterns, any candlestick patterns and signals, and then ultimately your indicators. These are our 5 steps. So let's go through them real fast here, and I'll show you some variations in each of these steps that you can look at. When we think about defining our support and resistance, of course, support and resistance tells us where the stock is likely to turn, where the bulls are going to come in and start driving the price higher, where the bears are going to show up and start driving the price lower. And so typically, the most basic form of identifying support and resistance is what we call our line analysis. This is where we draw support and resistance lines on the chart. It's the most basic form. It's very simplistic, and it really gets the point across. It's a great way to start learning. Once you've understood the basic concepts of support and resistance, though, there's actually a lot of additional ways that you can get this information. One of those ways would be, for example, your Ichimoku clouds. They can provide some support and resistance information. Our Fibonacci tools provide excellent support and resistance information. You can actually use Bollinger Bands. It's a little bit different because it's a very relative support and resistance, but you can absolutely use their Bollinger Bands to get an idea of where that support and resistance is going to show up. The real key word here, it's not on the screen, but I'll write it up here. The real key word is framework. This is what you've got to have. You got to have a framework inside which that trade is expected to operate. And that's what our support and resistance does. It gives us a framework of where the buying and the selling pressure is going to build. Now, that's really the number 1 most important step in our 5 steps of trade confirmation. But let me roll through the other 4 here. The second most important step is to identify the trend. You've probably heard it said, the trend is your friend. And there's no more true words that have ever been spoken in the world of trading. Now, there's a lot of ways we can identify the trend. Maybe the most common way is our moving averages, a very simplistic system, a very, very good system of identifying the trends, your moving averages. But some additional ways of identifying the trend, we can use our traditional trend line analysis tools. Again, our Ichimoku clouds provide excellent trend analysis. You can use your Bollinger Bands and a few other tools that are out there to help identify the trend. But the key thing here in your 5 steps of trade confirmation, number 1, identify your support and resistance, and next, identify the trend. Now, everything else really becomes confirmation for the most part. The third step is the chart patterns themselves. And so, there's a lot of different types of chart patterns. There's 3 types specifically that are broad types. We've got reversal patterns. These tell us that the trade is reversing, and you're going to see these showing up at the end of a trend, telling you that, hey, this trend is terminating, and it's going to be going the other way. We've also got continuation patterns. These are patterns that are going to be suggesting that the stock trend will continue in the previous direction that it's been going. And then finally, we've got our consolidation patterns, and these are very much neutral patterns. These can break out either direction, but these are your 3 broad categories of chart patterns. And what's great about chart patterns, when you combine them with your support and resistance, and we combine them with your trend analysis, the chart patterns give you a much higher level of confirmation. They give you insight into the probable direction of what's going to be coming. And as you start to stack all of these different pieces of evidence, it really weighs the trade in your favor. Now, the next piece of information you're going to want to identify are your candlestick patterns. Now, candlesticks are a very, very valuable tool. They provide a very quick insight into likely trade direction. And what's really cool about candlesticks is usually it's only 1 or 2 days of activity that will give you a pretty good idea of what's about to happen. They give us something we call early reversal signals. Most of the time, whenever I'm getting out of a trade, I initiate that process by interpreting a candlestick pattern. More often than not, within just 1 or 2 candlesticks, you know that this trade is typically done. So they're a very, very powerful tool for helping confirm both your entry into a trade and also when it's time to get out of the trade. And then finally, our final piece of 5 steps of trade confirmation are the indicators. Now, indicators are a very misused tool, but a very valuable tool. And there's really 2 reasons that we use indicators. Number 1, it's to confirm what you already know. And that's the most common way. We're going to use our indicators. We're going to pull them up and we're going to say, yep, it tells me exactly what I knew. Or the other way is to alert you to something you did not see. Now, this is the most important way that we can use indicators. What a lot of people like to do with indicators is they like to look for that quote unquote perfect indicator, and they're always trying to trade based on the indicator. The better way of using it is, as I've put it up here on the screen, to confirm what you already knew or to alert you to something you did not see. And if you'll look at your indicators that way, you'll find that they provide excellent insight. They give you really powerful confirmation of your trade. And they're just really excellent tools. Now, there's a lot of indicators out there. You see on the screen here 3 of our oscillators that we use, the stochastics, the RSI, and the MACD. These are 3 of the more common indicators. There's a lot of them that are out there, though. And, of course, you can use a whole handful of them if you wish to do so. But they are what we consider our 5th step in trade confirmation. Now, when you pull it all together, it seems overwhelming, but that's kind of the idea. The idea here is that each angle of the 5 steps of trade confirmation gives you a different perspective on the trade. And so the multiple steps help you pick more winners because what they're doing is each perspective is helping you see things that otherwise you would not have seen. And then here's kind of the clincher: when the weight of the evidence, when the majority of the evidence is in agreement, at that point, it becomes a high probability trade. So you're truly trying to stack the odds in your favor by doing better and more quality analysis. Now, this is what we consider our 5 steps of trade confirmation. If you want to learn more about these 5 steps of trade confirmation, well, I've got some more videos here in the Trade for a Living series, so you can watch some more trader tips and you can learn more. Maybe the fastest and easiest way is to just go over to TradeSmartU.com and try one of our all-access memberships where you have access to all of our training on demand. So you can learn all about trade confirmation. You get hundreds of hours of training. We've got over 20 courses there available for you on demand right now, all available for 1 monthly price. So if you're interested in trying that out, just head on over to www.tradesmartu.com, and we'll look forward to seeing you in some of our live classes where you can learn everything that you wanted to know about trading the stock market. Until we get to meet again, happy trading to all of you.